visitors started coming by as early as my very first experience going out of body, projecting my consciousness out beyond the physical. There is one concept I have to bring to light here, though, in order to talk about this and what I feel is a cohesive way, and that is the idea of bilocation. And essentially, every consciousness expanding experience I consider a bilocation, because I am principally focused in one single physical reality. So whenever my consciousness opens up and I find myself in a second environment, that is essentially bilocation. So for instance, when I wake up in a dream and I'm having the full tangible experience and knowing that I have a physical body somewhere in a bed, and I am here in this new environment, whatever it happens to be. That is a bilocation. And there's a variety of different ways the bilocation occurs. And so as I go on to tell you about the visitors who have come to me to help me wake up further, I'll also be expressing this, the various ways that I have bilocated. Okay, so the very first person who came to help me out was a young indigenous boy, 15 years old. His name is Mahari. He literally pulled me out one of the first times. So I'm laying down, I'm on my stomach, and I think, or it seems to me, I'm still right here in my physical room, but I feel hands on my ankles and feet. And I could feel him lifting my legs up and pulling them up and way back long, like I was being stretched, like he was trying to pull me out. I know now. Anyway, I met with him only briefly, enough to get his name, the tribe that he was from, and planet. I didn't retain the remembrance of his tribal name and planet. His age. There was another young indigenous boy who came with him that looked to be approximately 20 years old, that could have literally been him at a later age, also in the same room with me at the same time. Never did quite figure that out again, and I have not seen Mahari again since that first time. The next one who came, this was actually really fun, was a parallel reality husband who helped me get out of my body and who took me to his house, where we sat and had tea and coffee and talked about our life together. He also introduced me to other parallel reality husbands, only one of which I retained awareness of. So I retained awareness of him and one other. And I had pretty similar, if not identical, lives with each of these men and each of these realities. 3 kids, 2 dogs, nice house. Nothing like this reality in which I knew, or pretty much knew as a small child, that I didn't want to marry and that I wouldn't be having children. Okay. Now we're going to lose some order. So these aren't in any particular order from here on. I had a visitation from what we would more typically call extraterrestrials. And this happened one night when I feel I was literally the energies working with me and myself were attempting to literally physically teleport my physical body, meaning dematerialize my physical body from the room and materialize it in another reality. This other reality happened to be a spaceship that was up not too far above the house here. And so what happened was that attempt failed. But in the failing of it, my consciousness would go, but my body would not. And so it is, at the end of this event, my consciousness opened out into the etheric. I bilocated. I had a view of myself right here in the room, seeing myself in the bed. And I had a second view out in the sky, looking down at the house, and between me and the house was this craft. This craft was literally beaming an aquamarine, blue-green colored light down at myself, and I was experiencing this sensation also in my physical body. So there was a reality to it that was non-physical and being experienced non-physically, and there was a reality to it being experienced physically. Extraordinary. I did not get to meet these beings because, again, my body would not go, and so the experience turned into something a little different at that point. My favorite time that this happened was just, and it's really rather one of the simplest events that have occurred, but it was so quaint and so delightful and so extraordinary to me. I can't even really relate to you well why this is, but I'll tell you what happened. This was one of the very first times that an experience occurred from my practice space rather than in the middle of the night. So this was from my practice space in the middle of the day, not in the morning when I moved to the practice space, like after having slept, but after having been up for a while, and in the afternoon laid down to have a practice session. At the tail end of this practice session, for no apparent reason and with nothing seemingly preceding this, I bilocated. So I'm lying here on the practice space, and I bilocated over by the tree back there, and I was in orb form. This was the only time it ever happened like this either. And standing there by the tree, I was looking down by the head of my practice space, where I saw one of my first visitors after Mahari. He was a 7-year-old indigenous Indian boy. A lot of my visitors are indigenous Indian. Again, clearly not from this planet. Humanoid in appearance. However, his race of beings naturally had no hair. He had this circular pattern that was embedded into his forehead that was about the size of an apple. I recognized it when I saw it. But when I saw it, the most extraordinary sensations flooded through my body. He was essentially naked, however, wearing a beaded string. And the way this was beaded, again, just extraordinary, not anything I had ever seen before. And this beaded string went around his head and fell down the back side of himself along the spine. And that was his full mode of dress. My consciousness literally just opened out long enough to see him. When I did bilocate into the orb form back there, he could see me, and he moved his attention from watching me here in the bed to seeing me over there by the tree, and he just slowly stood up looking at me right in the eyes. did not get the opportunity to speak to this one. Boy, I wish I had.